Here I am after so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound. choked up in a tie. Ain't no wonder sometimes in the morning I hear my woman cry. She knows her man is a prisoner. Greetings, peace, and love. Safe travels to everybody, especially what's been going on recently. My name is Frank Brown, and welcome to the NEPPC podcast, aka Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition podcast. I'm with my brother and comrade and former political prisoner, Mr. Brother
Abdul Haq Islam. Peace and love, brothers and sisters.
Today's episode, we focus on African liberation because this is African Liberation Month, as well as it's Mental Health Month, right? So those things are directly connected because one thing is a response to another. So we want to start off first by defining mental health and defining African liberation. So I would say that mental health is your ability or your inability to deal with trauma. How would you define mental health, brother?
Mental health traditionally is called a flight from reality, dealing with an unreal world, and not dealing with the concrete realities that one has to deal with to bring benefits in one's life, but to deal with total unrealities that bring grave consequences in one's life.
Excellent definition. I think that's very clear and to the point. And now let's define African liberation. I would say African liberation is the right of all people of African descent to determine their own destiny, to express self-determination without any one opposing their view and their ability to express that view in practice. What would be your definition of Africa of liberation?
Yes, to be in charge of your own destiny, like you said, to have the political power to make the decisions that affect every critical aspect of your life. You understand? As enunciated by the last poets who say you have nothing to say, just hear and obey, just blindly playing your role while others decide whether you live or die, and mad men man the controls. So somebody else decides, that your lifespan will be 10 to 20 years less than that of a white man. You understand? That's when you have absolutely no self-determination.
Thank you. And as we talk about mental disorders or mental health during this month, and we talk about African liberation during this month, it's very important that we talk about Fanon. Fanon was a psychiatrist, and he dealt directly with people who were affected by the social conditions of the time. So he wrote a book called The Wrecks of the Earth. I recommend that to anybody who's interested in the effects of mental disorders or mental health and how one should respond to it. So on the chapter of colonial war and mental disorder, this is on page 181, he says, and for many years to come, we shall be bandaging the countless and sometimes indelible wounds inflicted on our people by the colonialist onslaught, imperialism, which today is waging war against a regime, a genuine, struggle for human liberation. Sow seeds of decay here and there that must be mercilessly rooted out from our land and from our minds. We shall deal here with the problem of mental disorders born out of the national war of liberation waged by the Algerian people. So that's a very important statement because he's directly relating oppression or oppression to the struggle to one to liberate themselves, or oppression being directly the cause of mental disorders or what we would call a mental illness. And I think that that's important because our political prisoners understood that prior to their incarceration, they were organizing in the community because they understood that every nation, they see themselves as part of a nation, has the right to liberation or the right to self-determination, depending on their conditions, right? So that would lead to liberation because they have to struggle for that. And they have to understand what was leading to their situation, and they had to decide what would be done, and action had to be taken place. We know that Mutulu Shakur, for one, he was dealing with acupuncture to eradicate that addiction off of heroin for his people. And he did that at Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx. And he was very successful. And I think that, that knowing that he did that, we should relate to who he is a little differently. There's a documentary called Dope is Death that really lays out what was going on. And I think that that's very important. So when we look at them, when we're going to go back and forth between all of our political prisoners, those who are currently incarcerated and those who were formerly incarcerated but still doing the work. We know Jalil Abdul Muthar King, he was very instrumental in the formulation of the tribunal, the People's Tribunal. It was 2021 International Tribunal. It was done on October 22nd to October 25th. We still charge genocide. So it's ironic that we're talking about this, and this work was done because May 19th, which is tomorrow, is going to be Malcolm's birthday. Malcolm said that we had to take our struggle from civil rights to human rights. And this is exactly what Jalil Abdul Muthar King did, and others, because I don't want to just say he was the only one that was involved. There were a number of organizations, and they struggled to get that done for 2 years, that they brought the issue to the international stage. And I think that that's extremely important. And we talk about Sekou Odinga, we talk about the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. He understood that the people made the demand, the people organized for his release. And although he did his own homework on his case, and he did what he had to do to help those who were working and struggling from the outside to bring him home, it was that collective effort that needed to be done for him to get free. And he didn't stop there. He decided that he was going to be the modern day Harriet and free other political prisoners. So he organized, he's continuously participating and speaking on freeing our political prisoners. And now we talk about Veranta. Our last episode, we were talking about his work of meditation, his work with dealing directly with combating mental illness, and how he was able to help a brother who was incarcerated with him walk again when the doctor said he would never walk again as the result of being shot. So that's just to give you an idea of some of our political prisoners who were struggling for African liberation and struggling to combat mental illness, because you have drug addiction, you have stress, anxiety, hypertension, results of being oppressed. And these are directly connected to mental illness. Abdul Haq?
Yeah, peace and love, brothers and sisters. Just like Frank did, I'm going to begin giving tall respect to Brother Sekou. You understand this entire NEPPC podcast, is in the spirit of his work, you understand, to reach back and to liberate, his brothers and sisters, his comrades, and that's what the NEPPC is all about, and that's what we're talking about, talking about the work of other political prisoners and prisoners of war. Brother Jalil, is out here 1,000 miles an hour doing work, and he is calling for activism among the masses of our people. And, he got a lot of opposition from the white supremacists in SUNY Brockport, New York, for speaking to students. He is engaged in a campaign to end the school to prison pipeline. You understand? In these schools, we pay our taxes, and our communities, they give nothing related to liberation to our students, So, at 3 o'clock, instead of the students coming out of those buildings, on fire, talking about uplifting the race, talking about changing, talking about changing the world, as revolutionaries. You don't hear none of that. I was on the bus one time, I related this before. I was on the bus one time, and for a half hour, some black students that just came out of one of them school buildings talked about boogers for a half hour. You know, they wasn't talking about uplifting our race or nothing like that. You know, so Jalil is talking to the youth, and some white supremacists, you understand, got real upset by the fact that Jalil Muta King, you understand, would have access to the ears and the hearts and minds of our students, because they have a big campaign right now to control and imprison the minds of our people, you know, and a big push in that direction is in education. They're coming at education. They don't want any education about anything racial, about any racial crimes that they committed, nothing that can mobilize and stimulate our people to organize to change our conditions. You know, another activity that Jalil is strong in right now is organizing against white supremacy. You know, and that is very, very relevant right now. Y'all heard about the 10 black people murdered in Buffalo, New York, a few days ago by a white supremacist. You understand? A white supremacist that was talking about black people are taking over, you know, and is eliminating white people. You know, some crazy stuff. You know, and white supremacy ain't nothing new. That started 2 days ago in Buffalo, New York. You know, if you read a book like The Broken Heart of America, this country was formulated by white supremacists. It was always white supremacists. They murdered between 20 million and 120 million Native Americans. They went to Africa and murdered millions and millions of African people, stolen lives, you know. And the vibe here, you understand, the understanding among these white supremacists, you understand, was to enslave and to eliminate our people, you know, from day one here in America. So one of Jalil's prime campaigns right now is to fight against white supremacy and to tell the masses of our people that you need to be activists against white supremacy, you know, and the white supremacists, you know, are having a nervous breakdown. They having mental disorders about that, you know. Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, they call him Rap because he can rap so good, he could talk so good, you understand? And you know, he was involved in eradicating drugs in his community. Also, you know, he was a very, very spiritual brother who was able to turn and transform the lives, the hearts and minds of young brothers, you know, who had criminal mentalities, you know, to get them to value and love the idea of being righteous, you understand, of doing good deeds, of purifying their hearts and souls, you understand? You know, he did all that, and he continues to do that. You know, also, I meant to mention earlier that Jalil organized the Jericho movement, you understand, which aims to free political prisoners. You know, Jihad Abdul Mamit is also heavy in that movement. You know, we talked about Veronza last week, you understand, who has a miraculous way of using music, you understand, and meditation,
Yes.
you understand, to cool people out. You know, one of the things that he is able to do is to cool out the rage in people, you understand, which leads to violence. Also, Mutulu Shakur, you understand, Tupac's stepfather, in case some of y'all didn't know that, you know, he had a campaign, organized a campaign called The Code to eradicate the violence in our people. You dig? You know, this is very, very relevant because we have a campaign right now that's called We're Gonna Stop the Killing. You know, that's the December 12th. And the December 12th movement is former political prisoners, you know, started out as the Black Men's Movement Against Crack, you understand, after being acquitted, you understand, in a trial that actually put the system on trial, you understand, a system of oppression, theft, murder, you understand, put that system on trial, you know, the Black Men's Movement Against Crack, you know, which I was a part of, you understand, and with the generalship of Coltrane Shimaranga, You understand? A bad brother, right, brother?
A bad
Right,
brother.
A bad brother.
Right.
You know,
And former political prisoner.
Right next to this brother called Frank Shimmering, we kicked down the door of crack houses, you know, and the crack dealers ran out the back door. You know, this type of work, you know, organizing against police terrorism.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Organizing the 712 movement, organizing for reparations.
Never vacillated.
Never vacillated. The $777 trillion that white supremacy stole from our people, you know, organizing for a single payer health care. You know, organizing a million youth march with Dr. Khalid Muhammad. You understand?
Yes.
You know, that brother, you understand what I'm saying? A true soldier.
True soldier.
A true soldier, you know. And, you know, when the pigs attacked that rally, you know, 22 of them went to the hospital. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, the December 12 movement, former political prisoners, you understand, out there doing work right now. May 19th on Malcolm's birthday, we're going to be on 125th. Tomorrow, we're going to be on 125th Street shutting it down. Black power going to be on 125th Street tomorrow like electricity, like a volt of electricity going through the street. You understand? Malcolm's words, Malcolm's idea. You understand what I'm saying? Power in the air. You understand? On 125th Street. That work in our Harlem. You understand? By organized by former political prisoners, you know, 125th Street, where billions of dollars every day is spent for white power. But tomorrow it's going to be black power on the 125th Street and going into the minds and the hearts of our people, the souls of our people. You understand? You know, to spread and to liberate the masses of our people. And like Fanon said, you know, colonialism creates mental disorders. You understand? The word Nigger, you understand, means worthless. You understand? Dehumanization. You understand? Disrespect. You know, so people respond to these stressful situations in unreal ways. You understand? I'm saying, and Fanon said that the therapy for this type of mental disorder is to fight against your oppression. So there's healing in that, to standing up, to realize that you are a human being. To answer the critical question, who am I? I'm a human being. I'm a bad brother. You know, I'm not no Nigger. You know, I'm not an animal. I'm a man. I'm a human being. You understand? And to feel this in your heart, to have this vibrate, you understand, in your heart and soul, you know, this cures, you know, these type of maladies that come about by being trampled upon, by having your humanity stomped into the dust, to stand up, to resurrect yourself metaphorically out of that dust of oppression, you know, to fight back, you know. And our political prisoners, you know, even on the inside, you know, fight in this way, and on the outside in various ways, fighting for the liberation of our people, you know. So we need to support them, you know, the ones that's out here and the ones that's still on lockdown. We need to support them in the spirit of Sekou Odinga. You understand? We need to understand that those who love us and sacrifice for us and showed us that love in the most significant way, the most important way. You understand that as righteous brothers and sisters, you understand, who think logically, we need to do all we can to create a tremendous movement, the power of the people to demand freedom for our brothers and sisters. You dig what I'm saying? That right, Brother Frank? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just want to go back.
It's like Sundiata's coming home soon.
Yes.
Black
Power, yes. And that was the organized effort, and that was the consistent effort, and it was the protracted struggle to bring Sundiata Acoli home. You know, we still waiting for him, from my understanding, to actually touch ground. But, you know, I'm just happy about that. I was able to speak to him prior to him being granted his parole, and he was pleased with what I was doing. And I'm not a reflection of the work I do myself. I'm a reflection of those around me, my supporters, like my brother and former political prisoner Abdul Haq. It's not because regardless of what, he understands what it feels like to be incarcerated and to be incarcerated because of what you are struggling to do for people who look like you and share the experiences that you have regarding being oppressed. And I think that that has to be remembered. That has to be appreciated. Like I know I was watching a video of Mutulu Shakur. He was speaking on Sundiata Acoli, and he said that the people efforts to try to bring him home, or lack of effort to try to bring him home, was showing a lack of gratitude, and that really touched me. And I internalized that, and I asked myself, how appreciative am I of our political prisoners, or the sacrifices of political prisoners, if I ain't doing no work
you can do?
Right, exactly. Am I just running my mouth about like that's messed up or that's effed up, what people would say, and just leave it at that and go about my business, go on social media, maybe watch some sports and act like that problem or what I just talked about, what didn't I didn't take seriously, or it wasn't something worth taking seriously by the amount of effort that I put forth. So this is very important. This is very serious on how we deal with our political prisoners, because regardless of what, they are people that are doing some work around liberating us, because we are an oppressed people, and we have to identify that seriously, and we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do to liberate ourselves, and what are we willing to do to free our political prisoners, because our political prisoners are waiting to come home to their families. Like Mumia Abu Jamal said, picture yourself being in your bedroom 23 hours a day. So think about what that does to you mentally, the psyche. And that's why Fanon's work is so important, The Wretch of the Earth, because he dissects the oppressive conditions. He dissects the psyche of the person who is oppressed and what's going to take to liberate them out of their oppressed state. And I think that to study Fanon is to understand what you're going through currently. Like every time I walk down the street, I'm seeing a disturbing sight. Like I spoke before about a young sister who was walking barefooted. Number of times of going to the train station, I seen people urinating, not just males, females too, and this is very disturbing. How did these people get to this point? And is it a lack of resources to
New
deal
York
with
drive people
their
crazy.
situation? Right. It's the intensity of that city,
Yeah,
that
New York.
fast city, where you talking to people and you exchanging words, but they're not really listening to you, right? And that's why when you study anything or you evaluate an idea, you have to come from it from a political perspective, because all that politics mean is your relationship, the relationship between people and power, right? Because you can't have no power and expect to eradicate mental illness. So we have to struggle for power, and we have to do that by being organized, by being part of an organization, by being committed, by being consistent, by also freeing your political prisoners. Because, like Jalil Abdul Muttaqim said, you should be concerned about political prisoners, because at any moment you could be one. Just like my brother Abdul Haq was one, and he understood that how things happen today will be different tomorrow, based on what's going on, based on the threat you pose to others, or based on some mistakes you might be able to make and lead to a situation that you didn't intend to be in, regarding the way you choose to handle your business around a particular idea. But I think that when we talk about political prisoners, we're talking about freedom fighters, we're talking about our liberators, we're talking about our national heroes, and they're in prisons waiting for us to free them. And we can't do that by putting pressure on these elected officials, because these political prisoners could be released by a stroke of a pen. That's the power that
Obama could have did it.
exactly.
But
And
what did he do? He fought for
but we'll leave that.
colonizer.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll leave that for another topic. But
Right on.
we have to put pressure on people
Yeah.
who are registered to vote. Call up these elected officials. Ask them what's going on with our political prisoners. Demand that they release our political prisoners, because our political prisoners deserve to be home with us. I want to touch back onto this book right here. This very important book that deals with a historical opposition going, a historical lineage of oppression happening from the indigenous people to the stolen Africans to the prison industrial complex. All that is being looked at when you have an international tribunal, because you're looking at the history of a nation and you're putting them on international stage. So now you build allies internationally, and then you can even raise awareness of people domestically and internationally to fight on your side for your people's liberation. I think that's remarkable work. And I think that May 19th, with Malcolm's birthday being tomorrow, and the work that he was struggling to do to advocate for our human rights, I think that we have to look at that. And we have to look at our political prisoners as the advocates of our human rights. And we have to salute them. We salute them in practice by writing them and struggling to bring them home.
Yeah, Black Power. Yeah, the struggle for power is very, very critical. Power is a political term, means the ability to make plans and to have those plans to bear fruit. And there's people among us who have that human capacity intact, that has not been ripped out of us violently, you understand, who are able to put power in the people. So if we love ourselves, we got to love some power. You got to love Black power, and you got to love that type of leadership that can put power in our people, that can stand up to the power of the enemy. You understand? And to have a consciousness and an ability to fight politically and to fight the injustices. Many of us know about the injustices of the courts. There's been many, many injustices that went down through the court system. Me, myself, you understand, I did time because I punched some pigs out who put their hands on me. You understand? So as I did time, I developed a rage at the system, you understand, which transfers into a rage against all the injustices that's happened to our people through the courts. So we have very, very much reason, and it makes a whole lot of sense for us to study, in the cases of our people, who are incarcerated, for fighting for us, and right now, a very, very critical situation exists in that the enemy, you understand, is leading the world to a World War III, which could annihilate the whole human race. And Mumia, talked about that. I just watched a video by Mumia where he talked about war. We talked about the technology and the lies that America told, to get us into Vietnam, into Afghanistan. You understand? So right now, America is headed into World War III. He mentioned Zbigniew Brzezinski, who wrote the book, The Grand Chessboard. Brzezinski said that wars are started, you understand, by nations that are encroaching upon more and more land for economics, you understand, and to control politically, you understand? And that's what's happening right now, you dig? So, we need to, wake up and smell the coffee and do what makes some sense. That is, a political sanity. It is totally sane to fight for our political prisoners, to bring them home. You understand? Those who are very, very capable of giving us leadership in these very, very trying times. We're in some serious times right now, brothers and sisters, and we need this leadership among us right now. They need to be right by our side right now, inspiring our people, you understand, building our people up, you understand, helping our people to overcome these mental disorders, to make us, some of us feel that we are less than human, that we got to prove ourselves through violently attacking our brothers, to attack the faces that have the nose and lips you understand, their hair and to bust them heads open to send that we hate to the cemetery, to create black love in our people, to make us come together, to unify. You understand? As George Jackson said, who became an enlightened prisoner, that we have to come together to settle our quarrels because fascism is here. Listen to them words. That we got brothers and sisters out here. You understand? Political freedom fighters who have very, very great respect. You understand? Among who Dr. Khalid Muhammad called the warrior class. You understand? And this is a solution to a whole lot of our contradictions. And I want to shout out to Sister Ayana, who said she'll be listening to the podcast. You understand?
Please share with 10 people. If you're listening, and hit like.
Right. And send me a picture of the baby and tell the newborn baby, I said, give me 500 push-ups right now.
That's very important that we shout out the youth, because the youth are watching, and the youth are going to be inspired or uninspired by the actions and behind the words that we speak. And I think that goes directly to work towards freeing our political prisoners, because our youth are going to say, if this happens to me and I'm forgotten about, then why should I do the work? And they are going to feel uninspired because we're not taking care of our political prisoners.
Right?
So I think that we have to take that serious. I think that we have to educate our children more on our political prisoners. I know that and when we talk to our children and we talk to them about heroes and sacrifices and history, we have to put our political prisoners in there. And I think that this month it's very important when we talk about mental health and we talk about African liberation, that we talk about the history of it with our children, and we make sure that we have them involved in anything that we're going to do, because they're listening and they're looking for direction. And once you blink your eyes, 10 years are gone. Once you blink your eyes twice, 20 years are gone. Once you blink your eyes 3 times, 30 years are gone. And what I'm saying is that time is moving extremely fast. Our children are growing big extremely fast. And we don't have a lot of time to tell them right from wrong. We got to be a living example. And we got to let them know that there are principles that you have to stand on. And those principles that you stand on may or may not bring you some pressure or some obstacles, because of those who are in an opposing position and have an opposing views, and who might have more influence than you at the time, but yet still you stand on your principles. You don't deviate. You don't vacillate, as Coltrane Shimarenga, our field marshal, has said.
Right.
And you commit yourself to those ideas, those principles, and you make sure that if you're going to live by something, it has to be principles. And I think that that's what the political prisoner is. A political prisoner is an individual that decided that I'm going to stand on principle. I'm not going to wake up, wipe the coal out of my eyes, and just accept whatever comes in that particular day. I'm going to wake up, wipe the coal out of my eyes, and mentally prepare myself to address what's going to come on that particular day. Because a political prisoner is made conscious because of their observation of their reality, and they're internalizing that reality as a process in which the oppressor has put his people and people like him in. Because we work all the time. We've been working for decades and centuries, and yet and still you look at the current situation, it's because of the system itself is fundamentally flawed, and we have to deal with that. We have to decide how we're going to live, and we got to accept the consequences that come with the decision that we're making. Either we're part of the solution or part of the problem. But I think that, we are touching on a number of topics, and I think at this point, we could bring it to an end. Hawk, your closing remarks, anything that you need to say before we sound off?
Black Power Peace. Yeah, the brother just talked about principles. That's what political prisoners live by. You understand? A strong push for principles, and we need this. Our political prisoners are very, very beneficial for us. the work they do inside, and those who've been free, the work they're doing out here. We got some real contradictions among us right now. This violence, killing one another. This do nothing stuff. This scared to death, 65 politics that says turn the other cheek. All this old type of stuff. Our political prisoners. You understand? Our solution, our benefit. You understand? That can give us the power and the wisdom, the understanding, the critical analysis. You understand? That will benefit our people, and it's very, very highly principled. To support our political prisoners, to make it a priority to bring them home, and it's highly unprincipled for us to forget about them and abandon them. You understand? And forget about them. You understand? As Killer Mike said, expect them to bungee jump for us without a cord. So we say, what is it called?
Free them all. Free them all. With that being said, we're going to have to close out with a word from our brother in the struggle,
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike.
As well, and I have to give the credit to this idea, Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mutulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu-Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure